Sweet. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Chafed and Confused podcast with Nick and Kyle. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm sitting next to you. I'm delightful.
Excellent. Today we're joined by Morgan. Thank you, Morgan, for joining us.
Where's?
Morgan, do you want to go?
I'll go.
You go.
Morgan is a registered dietitian with a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Food Sciences, specializing in dietetics. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well done.
Nice.
It's a lot of letters.
Morgan has run marathons, trail and ultra marathons, and it also, and this I'm intrigued to learn about, is a nectarine enthusiast.
Oh, can I swear?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Welcome to the show, Morgan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we start off with 10 questions, get to know people, break the ice. So question number 1, pineapple on pizza, hell yes or hell no?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're really winning
Yeah,
lately.
it seems to be
When we
trending
first
up.
started, it was pretty rocky, but now people are on board.
yes.
We're trending
Yeah.
up.
I mean, they put arugula on pizza. Like,
Yeah.
people are really, pineapple's not a problem.
What is your preferred sock height and why?
Oh, it's changing because it used to be just like as low as it can. But my house is really cold. So now, like, the more like held by the sock I am, the happier. So high,
Yeah.
probably.
Thigh-high socks.
Yeah. Yes, thigh high. No, probably around this. Also, because it doesn't chafe with boots. So,
Fair.
yeah.
Crew.
We're
We'll
all
say
about
crew.
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 Reducing chafing here at Chafed and Confused. What book are you reading or have just read?
I just finished, oh God, what's it called? Demon Copperhead. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a modern retelling of David Copperfield.
Oh, cool.
Really, really good. And then I just started the Kite Runner.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm not far enough in to have anything to say about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some classics though.
Yeah, I used to be into like rock and roll autobiographies of like sex and drugs and what, like Dave Grohl was the one before. And so I needed a break. After a bit, I was like, let's just...
David Copperfield's probably got some sex and drugs in there.
Just a bit. Yeah, just like a light, heavy dabbling. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Tasteful. Question number 4, run with friends or run alone?
Can you say both?
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah, both. Because like alone is nice, just to like be with the trees, but like friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets boring.
Yeah.
What is your favorite pre-race or run pump-up song or genre?
Oh God, it depends like literally where I'm at like in that moment. Sometimes it's like the Wicked soundtrack and sometimes it's going to be like hip hop. Sometimes it's, I don't know, that like Olivia Dean song right now is just like groovy. I don't know, anything that like I'm kind of obsessed with at the time. It's all over the place.
It's eclectic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really just whatever I'm hyper fixating on at the time. Yeah.
Number 6, if you could be really good at another sport, what sport would it be and
Oh,
why?
gymnastics.
Okay.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
no upper body strength whatsoever, but my body type makes sense for it. So I'm like, just to be able to flip and flop and gymnastics.
It's so transferable to other sports, skiing, whatnot. Yeah.
It's just like you need to be so strong at everything. And it's just like you're doing impossible stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Easily.
Where's your next vacation? If we got a week off tomorrow, where would you go?
Oh, God. Argentina's on my mind, but like, I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go with Argentina.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good. It's beautiful. When it comes to races, do you like to chase or be chased?
Chase. Yeah. No, Chase for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be
You know what you're working with then.
Yeah.
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 You know what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 10, what is your favorite post-epic snack or meal?
Ooh.
Nectarine.
Yes, nectarine. Absolutely nectarine. But like a teen burger, just like,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We do need to get sponsored
Yeah,
by
we do.
A&W.
no, a teen burger is a big one. Or like a big old breakfast sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the world of moving your body and getting after it in the mountains, do you consider yourself chafed or confused?
Oh God, both. All the time.
Totally fair. Well, you've passed.
Thank you.
We'll continue.
Thank God.
Morgan, where are you from and where do you live?
So I'm from Calgary, born and raised, and then I lived in Edmonton for 10 years. So in terms of like running world, Edmonton is like my like true original love for it. And then back to Calgary for 2 years, and now I'm here.
Awesome.
Nice. What brought you to Revelstoke?
My partner's work.
There you go.
Yeah. So I could switch virtual, and he had an opportunity, and it's a hard opportunity to say no to. So
Yep.
yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how do you earn money to buy running shoes?
By talking to people about food and lifestyle.
Amazing.
Yes.
So you're a dietitian. Can you explain to folks at home who might not know what that is, what it is?
Totally. So registered dietitian, basically, I mean, we do things all over the planet. Myself in particular, most of my work's in one-on-one counseling. I have a couple different areas that I focus on. I do some like pediatrics with picky eating with little kids, which is fun. And then I do a lot of like food relationship and people who struggle with like the mental habit, the day-to-day. And then some just like, hey, let's talk about vegetables that terrify you, make them less scary. I'm a stubborn Italian woman, so like food should never taste like cardboard. So like, let's make food good and teach you the skills to be able to do it. Yeah, people always think healthy eating is such a burden. So a lot of one-on-one goal setting, resource connecting, talking. Yeah, if that answers that.
Have you ever worked with someone that had a potato chip problem?
Oh my God, there were 3 a day.
Present.
Yeah, 3 a day. I would say it's one of the most common self-proclaimed, quote, problems of patients. Yeah.
What does it look like when someone comes to see you? What does that process look like?
It's a lot of questions to start off. I always say I'm going to grill you with like 10,000 questions, but it's a really thorough initial assessment because not only do I need to know what you like eat in a day, but like what does your life look like? What does your work schedule look like? Who does the cooking? Where do you do the grocery shopping? What are your skills? What are your stress levels? What's exercise? Because changes in nutrition, we're not robots, we're not one size fits all. And so I can't just be like, run along with this 10-point sheet and it's going to work for you. I need to make it fit within your life because it shouldn't feel hard. Mm-hmm. It should feel like, okay, I can make that swap. I can make that tweak. So rather than like a plan building sort of blank slate
Reset.
Yeah. It's more of like, let's take you where you're at and make little tweaks within your world that are actually going to make a difference, but not make you feel like a different person. Yeah.
And do you find yourself, obviously food is so closely tied to emotions. Oh, yeah. Do you find yourself, and is that part of your like schooling? Like, is there a counseling component? Because obviously you're dealing with people who are, it's just so tied together.
Totally. Like the psychological piece of relationship with food is, in certain cases with certain patients, 100% of our focus. It's not actually about like the nutrients or hitting your fiber goals or things like that. It's about being able to like have a piece of Halloween candy without being burdened and guilt and shame for the next 3 days of your life. Mm-hmm. So the relationship with food and that sort of setting your own ground rules and finding peace with food is a huge, huge foundation of what we do.
Amazing. It's interesting because it's the only drug that you can't quit. Like you got to eat, but you've got
to eat handfuls of chocolate chips until you feel sick when you get home from work.
Yeah, or like have your chocolate chips and something else. And it's interesting because the more like on a pedestal or like special that we put foods, the more our body craves it. It's how your brain works, right? So if someone like for a little kid is like, okay, we have cookies in the house, but they're on top of the fridge in a jar and you can't touch them. They're going to spend the next 3 days going, okay, how can I balance that stool on that chair to get on the counter to get those cookies, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Versus if there was just a plate of cookies on the counter, the kid would go, ooh, cookie. Can I have a cookie? Cool, it's a cookie, equal. So the more like special we make foods or the more like bad we claim them to be or the more off limits they are, our brain naturally craves those things. So
do you find maybe people like in like high performance athletes, do they struggle with that balance too of trying to, balance the treats versus, fuel for their activity?
I think I see 2 different kind of categories of that, maybe 3. But one is a group that used to really struggle with them and then found endurance sports or long distance efforts as a way to have a positive relationship with things like candy serves my sport,
Right.
whereas candy used to be my nemesis and things like that. So kind of using sport to reframe their relationship with sweets, treats, goodies, things like that. And then I also have an area of some of my athletes that struggle to fuel themselves adequately and end up underfueling themselves because they still feel some of that guilt, some of that shame, those preconceived beliefs on like, that's such a bad food. Why? Like, I can't touch that. Mm-hmm. So even for some people to talk about having like white bread on your sandwich in transition versus whole wheat, people are like, oh, well, I could never, it'll make me fat. Right. Whereas like, or the whole wheat is going to cause a whole different set of issues for you in particular that we should avoid. So I think it's kind of both. I do see people struggle with it. That is a fun one to get over, usually countered by science, which is always fun. But I also find a lot of people finding peace with food through sport, which is a cool angle. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, we each have our own individual relationship with food, but then when you are in a relationship, especially in a living situation, like my partner has great willpower and I do not. And so she can buy something and put it in the cupboard and not eat it. But I'm like, if I know it's there, I'm going to eat it. And so it's like there's some things that are beyond your control as far as your ability to control your diet. Like obviously you can't eat something you don't buy.
I see it all the time. And like ultimately my end goal for a lot of my patients is like to be able to live in a house and sit on a couch and watch TV with whatever that like calling you food is, the chocolate bar, the chips, be able to also exist in the house. Mm-hmm. So don't get me wrong, it takes work, but I see a lot of relationships of like, I can have one square of chocolate, but I can't keep the chocolate bar in my house because if I open it for the one square, my partner eats the whole bar. Yeah. And like, I mean, any relationship, there's some give and take, but I'm kind of lucky in the sense of I talk about it so often with patients that in like my relationships, I know to basically shut my mouth about other people's eating habits around them because words damage a lot more than the actual eating of the chocolate bar.
Right.
That makes any sense.
Yeah.
Do you see any athletes who have that you're working with to help them enjoy eating? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who, and I've been there myself, where I just pushed it one way where it's like food just became purely fuel to me. Like, is this thing I'm eating getting me closer towards my goal or taking me further from it? It didn't even have to be necessarily be enjoyable. I could just eat whatever, but I wasn't really like, it wasn't like living a great life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So like a big piece of the way that I practice is like, I don't want to tell you eat this exact snack. I want to say when we're putting together this snack at this time, because this is what your body needs, this is what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. But the second that food isn't exciting, the second food tastes like cardboard, the second that we sort of lose the actual like enjoyment and like culture of food, or that we're skipping things like our partner's birthday cake, or we can't go out for like deep fried fish and chips for granddad's birthday because we're so regimented. I like to talk about basically the health of the human comes before the performance of the sport. They can totally coexist. But when we're eating like a robot, when we're having nothing wrong with chicken, rice, and broccoli, but it's the example I use all the time, when we're stuck in chicken, rice, and broccoli land, we're not a fully healthy human. We might have the building blocks to build healthy muscles and power us through sport, but like if your brain's not happy, if your brain's not enjoying food, if you're not able to enjoy social experiences, we're doing something wrong. Yeah, I'm very person first because you're going to be a person for the rest of your life. You might not be a high performance athlete for the rest of your life.
What?
I'm so sorry. Let me reframe. Everybody's different.
There was a guy I used to work with who was very just building the blocks for muscle, and he would have a handful of spinach, a chicken breast, and a swig of olive oil. And that was his like lunch.
Like, why can't you saute the spinach with the olive oil and add a spice? A spice isn't going to mess up, change anything. It's just enjoyment.
Right.
But
that's what they say. Spices are 0 cal. Make your food taste good.
I've been watching some trash TV lately and watch this guy get up in the morning, take a cooked chicken breast, put it in a NutriBullet, pour water in it and a packet of Crystal Light, blend it up and drink it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Crystal Light for? Electrolytes, I guess.
I guess I'm going to be
flavor.
Stops it tasting like chicken that's just been cooked with nothing on it. I don't know. It was kind of creepy. That was his thing.
Part of me wants to try it and part of me is horrified.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a account on my Instagram that keeps coming up that is they trial all of those recipes and taste them. And like some of them like, oh my God, they sauteed beef with cinnamon and it's supposed to taste like chocolatey.
Oh.
And I was like, no, it's going to taste like cinnamon beef. Like, I don't know what you expect.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw on Instagram the other day where they made hot dog alcohol.
see that? I'd be like,
Your
curious
algorithm
then.
is
Yeah, my algorithm is way
going off
messed
the
Like
dark
maybe
end.
putting that in like a Caesar, but like,
Yeah.
why?
Oh, fat washing has become a thing in the booze land. It's people are fat washing all sorts. It's wrong.
Do you work with athletes around, obviously, like nutrition is such a huge part of running, especially if you want to run really far, but hydration is like, can be like such a crux for human beings. Do you work with people around, and also in your day to day, like being well hydrated outside of your training is like such a huge thing. Do you work with people and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I call myself hydration police because I never really let anyone get away with being dehydrated because everything is worse when you're dehydrated. I call my like raisin people is that group. So people are just chronically dehydrated, chronically below their hydration goals. We want to be grapes. So like raisin people struggle with it. But even in terms of performance, a 2% decrease in your body water content has a direct correlation with performance decline. And once you start your event or once you start your training, whatever, it's not impossible, but it's very close to impossible to regain hydration status. So wherever we're starting in terms of 0 to 100, if we start at 97%, even if we drink a ton of water during our run or whatever, we're not going to make it back to 100% hydrated. The best case we do is maintain or fall. And so when people are starting runs at 60%, all they're going to do is keep going down. And the degree of performance decrease on top of injury risk, on top of all these things, like hydration is cornerstone. So many people get caught up on the nitty gritty subtype of vitamin brand when they're not hydrated in the first place. That supplement's not going to do anything for you,
right,
if you're not hydrated in the first place.
Can you give us an example of something that you would do yourself in your day-to-day life to keep you hydrated outside of sports?
So it's over there, but I have my emotional sport water bottle, and all of my patients would know exactly what I'm talking about. But it goes everywhere with me. And so people always go, oh, I have a bunch of water bottles at home. But I typically say pick one that actually holds value. And it goes everywhere with you. It's watching TV with me. It's on my bedside when I'm sleeping. It's in my car when I'm running errands. And the only rule with it is that when it's empty, you fill it back up. Because if I were to chug like the whole bottle, I'm not thirsty. But if that sat empty on my desk all day at work, I wouldn't drink water till I got home. So as soon as it's empty, fill it back up. And it's basically like a connection to you. But it sounds so silly, but it's so genuine. You need to understand your needs in a water bottle, like an actual like partnership. So like I don't do cold water, so mine can't be insulated. I'm a basket case of a person. It has to be see-through. Otherwise I don't even see the bottle. I don't like straws. So I have like a big kind of open container or open like spout to drink. It's basically a shaker bottle.
Yeah.
But it has to actually fit your needs. And I'm not an aesthetic person. I don't need a sparkly pink cup on my desk to not be ashamed in front of people. So mine is ugly and I don't care. But if you are an insulated straw cup, pink sparkly girly, your water bottle needs to fit that. Otherwise, it's not going to actually stick with you around the clock. So yeah, emotional support water bottle. Like it actually just like
that.
Yeah,
partnership.
Are you adding anything in, or is it always just water?
Always water.
Okay.
Yeah, always water. We get so many of our electrolytes from food. There's a huge electrolyte craze right now that there's some goodness about it and some frustrating parts. I'm seeing people who don't need excessive electrolytes dabble into the like high blood pressure and risks of excess sodium.
Right.
So there's electrolyte replacement for things like running and big efforts and things like that. But electrolytes naturally occur in our food. And I want my athletes to have the snack, not just get it all from adding basically salt in their water in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say the same is true even if you eat not necessarily intentionally, but like a diet that's super low in like sodium, potassium?
In that case, like
if you're eating like like a whole food plant-based diet and you didn't eat a lot of processed foods, would you say
I would say if you're having rice in your lunch meal prep and we don't put soy sauce or any sauces on it, add some salt to the cooking of it. A lot of the like other electrolytes like your magnesium, potassium, calcium, etc., are naturally occurring in your fruits and vegetables. So the goodness that we actually get from the snack itself is huge. Now, for some of my athletes, if after a run they choose, let's say, an apple for their snack immediately after, we also talk about, okay, where are you getting your salt? So for some people, having a replacement beverage, 100% send it. But there's a difference between like electrolytes for maintenance and electrolytes for replacement.
Okay.
I think a lot of people for maintenance sitting at their desk job are adding a bunch of extra stuff to their water, which frankly they don't need. I would rather them have the snack that has the carbs, that has the energy to get them through the day, rather than just
Salty water.
the salty water to maybe regulate their blood pressure a little bit.
Right.
Because they still need the rest of the snack.
Can you talk about rehydration and replenishment post athletic effort?
Yeah, so it depends on what the effort was, whether you were fueling during it or not. So like if you went out for like a 45-minute run, no water, no electrolytes, anything like that, we want to get, is it like what we're looking for from a electrolyte standpoint after?
Just more so like, hey, I just did an effort, whether it was a training run or a race or something. Probably more so training is what I'm thinking. Like,
Yeah.
what would you recommend to someone as far as like the rehydration post effort and then refueling post effort? Like, is there? I'm kind of more asking about like do you believe in like a time? Is there like a specific time duration kind of thing? Yeah.
Totally. So from a hydration standpoint, typically I say 250 mils of water as soon as you can. If you have your emotional support water bottle, it's sitting in your car or it's sitting at home when you're back from your run. So just finish whatever's in there. But in terms of hydration and maintaining like our body water, our body very much like deals with what it's got at that time point. So if I were to chug 3 liters of water after a run, 2 hours from then, my body would find its balance again. If I didn't drink water for the rest of the day, I would end up net dehydrated. So it's getting that sort of like hit of hydration, top up of water right after, but also continuing to sip throughout the day. Your needs are higher on those days.
Okay.
With some of my athletes, we have like some kind of experiments that we can do to figure out what kind of sweater you are, because some people lose excessive water, some people lose excessive salt, some people lose it all. So we can get more catered, more personalized in terms of that. But in terms of after efforts, my number one thing that I'd say most of my athletes are missing is carbohydrates within 30 minutes of finishing.
Okay.
Yeah, without question. It replaces your glycogen stores, which is what moves your muscles. So muscles are made of protein moved by carbs. So we basically deplete all our stores. That carbs within 30 minutes stops a bunch of basically trigger pathways that we don't want from going off.
Where we would start drawing from muscles?
Basically. Okay. So like increased injury risk, decreased recovery time, increased muscle soreness, and then also you can see increased muscle breakdown. Okay. So having a simple carb snack, a granola bar, a something within 30 minutes of finishing protects all of those chain reactions from getting triggered. Yeah. So protein's important, but like carbs they're the one.
Maybe you can help clarify me this, because this always is kind of like a thing that gets me. It's like the whole carbo loading thing. Like in my mind, it's like, it's like a bucket full of water, right? You can only put so much in the bucket. If you have a race the next day or something and you've been eating properly, I would assume that your glycogen stores are at the max that they could go. Can you talk about that? Is that a thing or is it not a thing? Like, do I not understand it?
Carb loading has absolutely some science for it, especially when we're talking about like those bigger efforts, the triathlons, the ultra marathons, the marathons, the multiple hours of output, because we do want to fill those glycogen stores. Basically, balancing this is hard, but like our muscle fibers kind of sit like this, and we have all our gaps in between that are filled with glycogen stores. We want all of the like little glycogens just to be like nesting and ready to go, because they are how we actually move our muscles. Now, the research on it is where some people get confused with it, because it is confusing. All the research is done on basically like elite male runners who are 6 feet tall, made of just muscle and bone.
Dang it.
So when we're looking, I'm 5'1" and I am not just muscle and bone. So when we're talking about that, like grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight, as is studied, the body weight is talking about the body weight of the full human, not the body weight of the muscle mass. So where like a biker who has a relatively lean composition and fits that sort of body proportions, their prescription for grams of carbs per day in that loading phase is going to be way more accurate than someone like me, whose body composition is not 6 feet and all muscle. However, the needs are still higher. But like for me, if I were to do the grams per kilograms, I don't actually have it off the top of my head, but I think it would be like 900 grams of carbs or something in a day, which is way more than my muscles could store, right? So it's a bit of grain of salt, but there is a bunch of theory behind it. However, it's more of a progressive loading between like 3-ish days, 4-ish days before your effort, rather than just saying the night before, have a big bowl of pasta.
Right.
And so we want all the meals, all the snacks, all the everything to basically just have like an extra portion of what you're already eating. It doesn't mean to completely wipe the slate of what you're already eating. Even like someone who has like peanut butter toast with honey on it in the morning, add some extra honey or have an extra piece of toast. It's dramatic how much we can change your carb intake just by like little tweaks. So yeah, there is some theory behind it, but like some of the numbers are wildly overthrown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, I remember like, back in high school days when you're doing track or football or whatever, and the coach is like, all right, go home and make sure mom's making, big pasta.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just look at the research now and like proper athletes are, you're planning your week before the event. You're increasing, marginally. So you're not overloading your system and then have a bucket of spaghetti sitting in your stomach that you're trying to digest for the next morning.
Exactly. And then people sometimes end up eating like the weirdest things and they're like, my digestion is off and I'm nervous and I'm anxious. And I'm like, yeah, because you've changed everything about your diet in the week before. Like you're already having half a bagel, just eat a full bagel. It doesn't have to mean that we're having like pasta for breakfast. Like we can still play within our realm, because ideally by the time a week before your race comes, I really hope we had a significant carb presence leading up to that anyways.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying it's not super specific to the carbs? Because whenever I think of carb loading, I think of someone eating a pasta dinner, and I'm like, if I ate pasta for dinner the night before a race and the race started at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, there's no way I would have digested that. It would still be sitting in my stomach.
So you would have digested it.
I would have digested it?
Yeah, you would have digested it. So carb digestion, I mean, for the most part, everything will be digested like over the night. Obviously everybody's digestion is slightly different, but also like it wouldn't make the same head to toe systemic impact as that sort of progressing over a couple days. But the night before the race, I work really hard with my athletes to make sure that like from basically dinner the night before until the gun goes off, that everything is tried, true, and practiced. The same way you don't wear new shoes on race day, no new breakfast, no new anything. Destination races, we have to get extra particular. So like your long runs, you should be training your pre-race dinner, your pre-race breakfast before your long run. You should be starting your long run at 6 a.m. if your goal race starts at 6 a.m., meaning your breakfast is going in at 4, and that sucks, but that's the race you chose.
Yeah. Makes sense. It's funny, I've never done that, but it totally makes sense to do it that way. I mean, you're eliminating variables.
Yeah, and there's like a bit of like, even from like having a bowel movement before your run, if you're not used to eating at 4 a.m., then you're not used to this, then you're not used to this, and then people end up with GI issues 100%, not 100% of the time, but they end up with GI issues and all of these other complications. But I like to like say, even from a nerve standpoint, because like nervous guts is such a common thing anyways. So for certain people to have your 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning oatmeal, your single cup of coffee, and then we do our routine, your body knows that, oh, hey, a big effort's coming. Okay, the long run is coming, and everything runs more smoothly. So not to say like, hey, practice your breakfast and you won't be nervous, but in terms of our body being like, okay, we're having oatmeal at the crack of dawn when we don't really want it, it's another signal to your body of, oh, we know what we're doing. This is status quo. This is the way that we're dialing in.
Very interesting.
So you've carb load, you've maintained, you've hit your numbers properly. When you start and the gun goes off, What do you subscribe? Do you subscribe to anything for your athletes, like the 100 grams of carbs an hour, or is it, again, very variable on the person and their size?
It's variable on person and their size, as well as their training and what they can tolerate.
Right.
And so I will typically not let someone go below 45, 50 grams per hour. But I also know a lot of athletes who can't tolerate that like 80 to 90 an hour type thing.
Yeah.
And so it depends on the effort. It depends how long you're doing it. It depends how you do in training. I want ideally all of the tweaks of fueling, grams per hour, gel flavors we like if we're doing gels, real foods if we're doing real foods, to all be standard practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've struggled with that in the past, because I've done the like trained with some gels during training, and then like I never hit the numbers I want, and then like on race day I'm like, oh, maybe I'll like whip up some dates and peanut butter and put it in like a baby food thing and eat that on the race. That'll be great. And then you're just like, I feel terrible and this sucks.
Well, I think it's hard because nutrition products are just in general like quite expensive. That like me personally, I'm like, well, I'm just going to buy them. I'm just going to use them for the race. And like, I'll do a race with them and be like, oh, it went well or didn't go well. And the next year I'll be like, am I going to use them again? But I mean, this year I used some new ones that I only really tested once. I hadn't really tested throughout my training. And in the dosage that I used it in training, it worked quite well. But the dosage in the race was the same per hour, but just the hour after hour just became like a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah. I typically, like with most of my athletes and myself included, the more pieces of the puzzle that we can have in your repertoire, the better. Like for myself, I know my type of gels that I like that work well for me. I also am a huge fan of cheat codes. Like, why buy maple syrup based gels when you can buy a Costco jug of maple syrup and add a pinch of salt? But to have multiple pieces, but in like your case, if let's say we're using one of the way more expensive fuel sources and things like that, I'd still want basically like probably 2 separate mock-up long runs leading up to race day that have your breakfast you're planning on having, the gels you're planning on having for that race. So we can save money in terms of the training days and finding different fuel sources for the in-betweens. But whatever your plan for race day is, your body needs to be dialed in, because everything is going to be slightly more difficult.
Yeah. That's so smart.
We've talked a lot about food, and I don't know about you, but I've learned a lot in the last 20 minutes or so. Let's talk about your running.
Yeah.
How did running find you?
So Edmonton is wild when it comes to run community. Absolutely insane. I lived there for 10 years, and at any given point, you could get 30 to 40 people out for a morning run the night before.
Oh, wow.
And so in that town, there's so many run groups. The trails in Edmonton are absolutely amazing. So the culture is just like wild. And so I lived right on the trail system. I think it's like 150 kilometers of connected single track in the middle of the city.
Oh, wow.
I think it might be the largest connected trail
North America.
Yeah, North America. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, so that became my playground. That was how I figured it all out. I was in university. I had some friends, not a huge community. And then people kept poking me, being like, there's this mishmash group of everybody who loves everybody. Just come out. And in there's a really special like community of like, they'll cheer for the slowest person just as loud and just as present as they'll cheer for the fastest person. They wait for everybody. It's like, it's such a cool niche little community. And so started doing random runs with them, and then they would go as like an army to all these various races. One of my good friends sent me a message one day and was like, oh, we should do this like Sinister 7 ultra relay. And I was like, sure. Turns out he was joking. And we ended up doing it as a relay. And then I think this year's the first year that I've missed that ultra in 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Nice.
so Edmonton really, like, I give them a lot of credit for me running, because it just like was like, cool, we can go farther together. We can go longer together. Huge community basis there.
What does the relay look like for that ultra?
So Sinister 7, it's in Crow's Nest Pass. There's 7 legs. The shortest one is 11K. Longest one is, I think, 34.
Yep.
And it's anywhere like the 7K, leg 7, which is the 11K, I think is 500 meters elevation, 700 meters. And then it goes all the way up to, I think, 1,600 on the 34.
Wow.
But it's also a 100-mile solo. They have a 50-mile solo, a 50K solo, And I think they just added a half marathon.
Leg 4 is the best if anyone wants to pick a relay leg.
See, leg 4 is where I dropped out on the 100 miler.
It has the best views. Yeah.
No. Well, no, leg 6 is just so good. It's so good. But leg 4 I want to redo when I'm not dropping out at the end. So
did you go for it yourself for the 100?
I tried the 100 mile solo. I've done the 50 mile quite a few times.
Yeah.
I tried the 100 mile solo, and I was having some like health issues that year, and it hit like on leg 4. I was like, yeah, my heart rate's doing weird things. I'm not playing games with this. We're just gonna enjoy the rest of our little walk jog here and have a good snack at the end and a beer, and I can go to bed.
That's the beauty of ultras, you know.
Yeah.
You make the call.
Yeah.
It's your own adventure.
I saw on your Instagram you've earned the your November Project shirt. Was November Project, is that something you got involved in Edmonton?
Totally.
Okay.
Huge piece of kind of that community puzzle. Once a week they do 3 meetups in a week, and on their Fridays it was literally outside of my apartment door. So it once people knew that you lived there, it became really hard to like not show up. But I was really into the November Project for years, because you can like walk hills and have coffee with a friend, or you can literally chase the fastest guys in town and put the work in. So it's cool community out there.
Yeah, November Project, for those that are not familiar, was started by 2 ex-collegiate rowers in Boston. And they basically, once they finished university, they would kind of miss that camaraderie of working out together. And so they decided to start this free workout group, and they would go to the Harvard track. And that was just like a way to like hold your friends accountable. And it's like, it expands the world now. It's crazy.
Yeah, the whole philosophy is basically just show up. Show up. If you say you're going to be there, be there. That's pretty much it. So it's just that like accountability, and it's a cool group of every single walk of life, and like, yeah, huge, very cool.
I love they have if you say you're gonna go but then you don't go, they have like on their Facebook like a wall of shame where they'll like they'll post a photograph of the text of you saying you're gonna go, and it'll be like, hey, sorry we missed you, blah 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 blah.
Yeah. I've had friends message me to cancel, like it starts at 6 a.m. and they've messaged me at like 5:57 being like, yeah, you can post this, but I'm still not coming. Like, but it's committing to it the night before that. If I'm going to get out of bed at 5:45, then like we're all getting out and out of bed at 5:45.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Yeah, it's always easier with people.
Yeah. And easier when like public shaming is a part of
acceptable.
It.
Yeah.
And it's all in good light. Like no one actually hurts anybody's feelings, but it does. It's a big piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
Heading
if you live in a city, like totally worth going to their website and checking out. Maybe you have a November Project in your town.
I think they're like 56 cities across the world now, something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
It's crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah. So heading into the winter, how do you keep yourself motivated? Do you have any plans or goals during the long, cold days of winter?
I have 3 big dogs, so they need to move.
Yeah.
As do I. So like at least getting out, but I work from home half the time. So like even just like sun/cloud on my face is nicer than sitting in the house. But I'll be skiing this year. I didn't have a ski pass last year, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's just sort of that consistency. I'm a big mental health baseline advocate type of person, and like even November Project, they have a whole thing on like weatherproof. Basically, weather doesn't matter, we're still showing up. And so -30, you'll get a similar group of people compared to +10, and so it's not bad weather, it's just bad clothes. However, I had a real lazy winter last year, and it was kind of nice, but not this year.
This year we're different.
But also like the dogs get you out of the house, and even just like I took a year off racing this year. Next year I want to do some like fun things. So like I can't just show up in the spring and be like, okay, now we're going to get focused. So starting to wrap my mind around like committing to it over the winter.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I noticed on your Instagram that you paced a friend at Javelina, at the Javelina 100. Was that this year or last year?
Last year?
Last year.
2 years ago?
Was that that was a friend?
Yeah, it was a friend from November Project.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So Javelina was really cool. She basically was like, I've paced her in a couple things, and this friend reached out being like, I need a pacer. If I'm putting in the money, if I'm doing this thing, I have an Airbnb. All you need to do is fly down. And It was a blast. I didn't even like expect to have so much fun, but it was funny because the course has about, I think, 300 meters of elevation per lap of 30K.
Oh, wow.
And given a lot of the like groups that come to that race don't live in places with elevation, the amount of runners on the course, they were like, the elevation is crazy. And I'm like, this is the flattest course I've run in my entire life. I've never run a course so flat. But Javelina is just like a bloody party.
Oh yeah,
It's
like
so cool.
Is it on Halloween?
Or
close to
it's
Halloween?
on the weekend, so I think it was the 28th the year that I went down with her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it looks like people dress up like crazy and like
it's like a rave.
Yeah,
it's like actually
the Burning Man of
wild.
100 milers.
Oh, that's
genuinely.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Javelina?
It's in Phoenix. It's not in Phoenix. It's in
the
Arizona.
desert outside
Oh,
of
okay.
Phoenix.
All right. Sweet.
Yeah, that was a really cool one. I keep considering doing it.
Looks like a good time.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was a really, really fun experience. And to see her is like, I've known her for years and she like really dedicates herself to like get those longer distance. She's more of a back of the pack type person, and like she puts in the time and puts in the effort. And so like it was extra cool to see her get that goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool one for her.
I think that's an amazing thing about ultra running is that in the same way that you were talking about November Project, celebrating the slowest person versus the fastest person, it's like, it's really just about your race and finishing. It's not about your time. It's just about like doing what you set out to do that day. And I feel like it's such a supportive community that it makes it like a really enjoyable sport to suffer in.
Yeah, I'm a happy mid-pack, and I like it because the people that I end up meeting and chatting with on the trails, they're not in it to win it. They're not gonna completely blow by me. We can have a conversation for an hour, learn about their kids, their dog, their job, and then move on to the next person.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was a fun. I did Fat Dog. It was my first ultra this summer, and
nice.
And I spent 25 kilometers with a guy from Victoria, and just like him and I chatted, and then he blew past me. I had to like do some blister care, and he ran, and I never saw him again. But then he was there at the finish line and like came up and gave me a high five, and it was like awesome to, both of us had our goals and they were kind of similar, but we knew we weren't competing for podium. Totally. We were just there setting a goal for ourselves, and it was great to do those and meet those people out there.
At Death Race a couple years ago, I found what I consider the palest woman I've ever found in my life sitting on the side of the trails. She rolled her ankle earlier. It turns out it was broken.
Oh, wow.
And just the shock set in, completely pale, couldn't keep any food down. Dang. And I'm like, I got such a soft spot. I'm like, I'll finish 20 minutes later if I can get you back up and get going. So we ended up sticking together for like 50, 60K. She took off in the last like 10K, ended up beating me. Turns out she ran 70K of it on a broken ankle.
Wow.
But she would have dropped out had I not taken that time. We spent the whole overnight with like basically a group of 4, but her and I, and she's like killing it. And now I talk to her all the time because we're best friends after picking her up and shoving a potato in her mouth and telling her that we're moving.
And then she beat you.
Yeah, and then she beat me. But it was her birthday, so it was fine.
All right.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience with like quite a well-known ultra runner named Michael McKnight, who he holds a lot of the 200-mile records and the Triple Crown record. And in his first 200-miler, he almost dropped several times, and then we slowed down. He had some hardware in his back from he broke his vertebrae. And I slowed down and we hung out for a while and stuff. And then he ended up beating me by 6 hours.
Mean.
Oh, I mean, but it's about the experience.
Oh, of course. I don't regret it. It was great spending time with him.
I hope he thanked you.
Yeah, good time.
Well, we thank you for your time.
Of course.
This has been amazing.
At the end of every episode, we always like to think about someone who might be listening or watching in this case. And, maybe they're struggling with their own lifestyle or diet around, maybe it's just their everyday life or maybe supporting themselves doing some sort of effort or a race. Is there a piece of advice that you could give that you've learned through your schooling, through your journey with food, your own personal experience?
I'd say meet yourself where you're at. Don't expect yourself to be that Instagram person. I deal with a lot of conversations around body size, and your body needs to be a certain shape to be able to run a certain pace and things like that. And to know that like it's not about that at all. any runner that's under fueling, whether you're in a larger body or whether you're a little string bean, is still not going to perform well. So kind of like head down, stay in your lane, but also like don't miss it. Like look up, look around, soak it in. If you want to stop on a long run and just be like, God damn, that tree is pretty, do it.
Yeah.
Because anybody can do anything. And so to not get too stuck in the, but I'm not her, but I don't look like him, but XYZ, just like treat your body well, eat, please eat. If you do anything, eat. Treat your body well. Don't compromise yourself because you don't look like somebody else.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me, you guys.
Of course.
Thank you for being here.
We are
Chafed
and confused.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
Yay.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I loved